What is up, everybody? I'm here with yet another Big Brother 27 update today, looking at July 21st, 2025. On the feeds, it was a big veto meeting day on the feeds, especially with all these powers out and about. It was quite the rough HOH for Jimmy. Some not his fault, some is his fault. As expected, Keanu used the veto that Casey won for him, even though he's been going around being all cocky about how good he is at the game and how he's going to make all these plans, even though he hasn't won a competition for himself, but whatever. And then later, Callie won her power to also have a veto. So Jimmy, as planned, nominated Amy and Will as the replacements. And as Amy and Will later pointed out to each other and others, that Jimmy nominated the two oldest players in the house, which is very, very lame. Jimmy has talked a lot and he's talked a big game and he's trying to be this big old TV character, borderline villain. And I've acknowledged that Jimmy has had a tough HOH, but it really does look like he wants to be a wannabe badass with his rehearsed reads and his now targeting the two oldest players in the house. Yeah, right now I do not respect Jimmy as a player, and he really can't be respected as a TV character because, he tries, but he's been failing with his rehearsed reads versus Keanu. I just feel like he's been a lot of talk and not a whole lot to back it up. So after his nominations, Jimmy heard Morgan be upset with his nominations. And he has a point that last week he did what Morgan and Mickey wanted him to do, voted to save Amy over Zay, even though Amy tried to get him up on the block last week. Jimmy does have a point there. But I just think Jimmy has played this week as HOH in a way where he's pissing off the people actually allied with him and trying to work with him and helping his supposed rival, Keanu. It's not really making a lot of sense. And as for Keanu, he had a great day. Like, his cockiness about the veto that he didn't even win himself is annoying. But Keanu's been so persistent this week with his gameplay and his gaming all week that some people, like Morgan, have started to actually believe his bad lie that he voted to keep Amy last week. His bad lie that the whole house clapped as bad is starting to become truth in the house. I guess if you believe your lie so much and you just talk about it so much, maybe it really does look like you're telling the truth. That's what's happening with Keanu. Keanu is in a much better spot right now than he was just a few days ago. It helps that Casey won the veto for him with his power. But even one of Jimmy's strongest allies, Mickey, they were strong allies just a couple days ago. These past 2 days, Mickey's been wanting Keanu to last in the game longer than Jimmy. So overall, Jimmy's having a bad HOH. I would say one of the only good things is that maybe the Jimmy and Keanu beef is squashed. It seems like Keanu would not go after Jimmy. Like, Jimmy would not be Keanu's main target next week if Keanu wins HOH. Keanu would definitely be targeting Rachel. Keanu thinks Rachel is the person in the house stirring all of the pots because, they've gotten into it over these past few days a couple of times now. And so, yeah, Rachel's becoming Keanu's number one target, not Jimmy, who tried to get Keanu out this week. So that's going well for Jimmy, but I still feel like he has lost more during his HOH than he has gained. A lot of that not his fault. Well, some of it not his fault. Rachel feels like Jimmy targeting Amy is a direct shot at her, so that's another person that Jimmy's allyship is struggling with right now. But in reality, Amy is a terrible ally for Rachel. And she might not see that completely, but I really wish that she would. It's going to be the second week in a row where Rachel's going to have to do the heavy lifting to save Amy because Amy's not campaigning at all. Amy's just stuck crying about being nominated again, complaining about it again. But just like last week, not doing a whole lot of campaigning to save herself. And I saw someone say online that Will and Amy knew they were going to be the nomination for like a day, and they did nothing to really try and change Jimmy's mind, and that's true. So the two oldest players, they complained a lot today that they're having a hard time talking to these 20-something-year-olds, which I feel their pain. But they could do more. And once again, Amy is saying that she doesn't want to campaign with these youngins and try and kiss their asses. Will's telling Amy the same thing, that he doesn't want to do this, but Will is already campaigning, at least a little bit. Amy is not. And with a lot of the talks that Will and Rachel have had today, I really wish Rachel would start to realize that Will, who was an older player as well, would be a far better ally to her than Amy. Will at least has game plans. He is playing the game. He screwed up his game with the way he voted last week, but he is at least playing the game. But I do think at least Rachel should probably want to try and save both Will and Amy. And I feel like Ashley, Morgan, and Mickey feel the same way. Plus, Mr. Superfan, Mr. I'm going to be the best player ever, is still not campaigning himself. He thinks he's just the safe pawn, like I said yesterday, but still not doing anything. I personally, I know I said today in my little update this morning that I kind of want Amy to go. I've changed my mind. I want Adrian to go home. He's not doing it for me. At least Amy will spiral and give me something. Adrian literally gives me nothing except trying to be Callie's number one ally. But you're on the block, dude. Maybe you should have tried to get numbers on your side instead of worrying about the long game when you actually very well could go home this week. And I see a lot of Adrian's fans online talking about his feeds talk early this morning. I caught half of it. I've since gone back and watched the video of more of it. And his fans are saying, well, at least Adrian has a really good read on the house. And I will say a lot, or at least some of his individual reads on players are pretty good. He has some people read pretty good as players. But his read on the house is a no. He thinks that the house is splitting in half and that he's on one side. There's not sides. This is not a split house. It is not BB6. He needs to figure out what game he wants to play because he's playing in a different house right now, to me. The house is not split. There's pockets of many different alliances, but it's a very movable game right now. There is no sides. There's no big alliance. So yeah, Adrian's just not doing it for me, and I would be fine with him leaving. I mean, I would be fine with Amy going as well, because as I said this morning, I do think it would be interesting to see what that does for Ashley and Rachel's games. I think it could make them actually play a clearer game and have a clearer mind. But also, they lose a number. And losing a number right now might be a very bad thing because people like Keanu, Vinny, and Riley made a little alliance today. I guess the problem with that alliance is that Riley's head is just, I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's still just stuck on Cat this entire time or if he's actually wanting to come up with a game plan. But Riley is kind of just there with no game plan, chilling, doesn't want to be a big target. I get it, but give me something. People say the same thing about Lauren, and as I keep saying, a slow start to the game is fine because this is a long game. But Riley's game plan to not win any challenges this season, I don't know why he's cast. He's definitely one of my least favorite castings, for sure. All this really does, though, I mean, if Amy goes, Vinny and Zach are in great spots, and I can't stand Vince, Mr. Vinny, and his ugly mustache. I don't like him. I really don't. But he has managed to make his first HOH work for him socially, and he's still doing a good job of that. Vinny has joined Zach and Morgan in the people making the most alliances. that could, I guess, eventually bite him in the ass. But with so many people making so many different alliances, I don't know if it's going to end up biting him in the ass. Zach is definitely a lot of our favorite person to win. Like not that I want him to win, but he's like the favorite to win. And there was this conversation today where Ashley told Rachel, Mickey, Will, and Amy that Zach's probably going to win. But in that same conversation, Ashley's like, I can't take the shot at Zach. And Mickey's like, I can't take a shot at Zach. And Will's just sitting there like, why are the people in this game wanting to save a person like Zach who's good at comps and good socially for later in the game? It really is a dangerous thing to do. And so they see Zach as this person with all this social capital, that if they go after him soon, it's going to fall back on them and they're going to look bad. But it's only true because people are afraid to want to make that move on him. Now, they don't know, because he's the only person that keeps quiet about his power, that he does have a power that would get him off the block if they do target him sooner rather than later. But I like the way Will was thinking. I like that his head in the game. He doesn't seem like he's afraid to make shots. Will must stay this week. I said I don't care if Adrian goes. I kind of want him to go. I don't care if Amy goes, but Will must stay. And I think Will versus Amy, Will has a good shot at staying for sure. Even Will versus Adrian, Will has a slightly good shot at staying. That's going to be a close one. Amy versus Adrian, I do think Adrian has the numbers to stay as of right now. Neither of them campaigning, I don't know if that changes anything. I don't know if Rachel campaigning hard for Amy can save her with if Adrian does nothing. It's possible. That is a possibility. But right now, the numbers are in Adrian's favor where that stands. I think one of the main reasons I actually do want Adrian to go, other than the fact that he's giving me nothing as a supposed superfan, although, once again, I get the lay low early strategy. I really do get that. But when you're on the block, you can't be laying low. Like, pawns go home all the time. If you're a real superfan, you should know that. You should want to put in work to stay. Anyway, one of the main reasons, though, that I would like Adrian to go is that it would make Benny's HOH even worse. And I would hope maybe light a fire under his ass that he needs to do a better job with his allies. Jimmy has a good social game, but his decision-making amongst his allies isn't good. And Jimmy has been telling his allies that he has Kat and Lauren wrapped around his finger. And that's actually more so bad for Lauren and Kat because it's making Mickey and Morgan and Rachel want to get out Kat or Lauren sooner rather than later. Mostly Kat. I think Kat is the bigger target between Kat and Lauren. So Jimmy acting like he's so good with them right now is actually just putting a bigger target on Kat and Morgan, which I don't mind because I would love for Kat to go home sooner rather than later too. But yeah, anyway, Will must stay. I kind of want Will to win, if I'm being honest. Right now, I would love to see the oldest guy in the house win the game. As I've been saying, I love Ashley and Ava. I really do. They're great feeds. They entertain me. I don't necessarily want them to win. I don't like that Ava's just so close with Vinny. And yeah, just mostly Vinny. Anyone too close to Vinny, I kind of don't like them because I just don't understand how they could. His conversations aren't good. Like, I don't understand actually how his social game is so good, but it is. And that irks me because I don't find his conversations, like, they're just very empty. So maybe some of these people need to open their eyes and see that, but they don't seem to do that. And Ava's one of those people. So it makes me hard for her to root for her to win. But Ava does need the money, so I would be okay with it. Ashley, I just want to make it far without winning. Like, she could be second place. I would love her to last the end and entertain me on beats till the end of this season. You know, I stuck up for her this morning in my video because I felt like Kat and Vince were being too hard on her, and I still think that way. But then today, Ashley did not want to clean. She grew up with the help cleaning the houses for her. I don't condemn her for that, though. I'm not going to judge her on that. But, you know, it did give some, like, evidence that many people in the house see Ashley as someone that doesn't like to clean. She did eventually clean a little bit, and she was so proud of herself for doing so. But at first, she was mad at Rachel just for Rachel to tell her that her hair is always in the sink. Ashley acted like it wasn't always in the sink. And Ashley was so offended by Rachel wanting her to clean better that she wants Rachel out of the house at one point today. Rachel was a big target for her just because Rachel wanted her to clean. But to me, that was funny, to be honest. And Rachel was a little shady in that conversation with Ashley. And if anyone was shady to Rachel like that, Rachel would act the same way, even at her big age of 40. So, I'm not judging Ashley too harsh for that because I haven't judged Rachel on her squabbles this season. But yeah, anyway, still love Ashley and Ava. Don't know if I'm rooting for them to win. Right now, I want Will to stay, and I want Will to be able to actually play a good game as the oldest person in this house. He messed up with his vote, but he has a lot of potential as a player, and I like watching him as a player. He has a lot of knowledge, and I think that's why Rachel is becoming closer to him because, he's old and wise. But yeah, last thing I want to say, the gag is that, Ashley has a lot of hate in the house sometimes, but Kat being her biggest hater, Kat's starting to get karma. A lot of people in the house are becoming just as annoyed with Kat as they are with Ashley. And frankly, I love that for me.